Okay, so next we're going to talk about the crop tool and the perspective crop tool. Those two tools are part of the crop tool right here. If I hold my mouse down, you will see the crop tool, the perspective crop tool, and then we have the slice tool and the slice selected tool. We will not talk about these two guys right here, but we will start with the crop tool. The way that the crop tool works is that if I select my entire image, I get what's called the cropping marquee. It looks just like the free transform tool, where I can go to my corner anchor points, right? And I can rescale my selection, and I can even rotate it. And once I complete my crop, my image will be readjusted to the crop that I did. Let me undo. I'm going to go to Edit, Undo Crop. Again, I select my area. And what we're going to look at right now, we're going to look at different ratio presets right here. In our first option, under ratio, right, you will notice that I get certain settings that I can use, 5:7 or 16:9. And these sections right here are the non-resampling ratios. And the other ones right here are the ones where our image will be resampled. As you can see, if I go to 4:5 at 300 dpi, I get the dimensions right here, but I also get the resampling option right here. So I can change my pixels per inch or pixels per centimeters. So if we select these guys right here, we don't have to worry about resampling our image. This ones right here, we have the option to resample our image. So if I go to a 16:9, for example, I also have the ability to switch the 16 and the 9 so that my cropping goes into a vertical direction. If I go to 5:7, again, I can switch my 5:7 so it's more of a horizontal crop. Let's go to 16:9 in this case. Then I have the ability to clear my inputs right here. Go back to 16:9. And then I have a really interesting tool right here. This is the straighten the image by drawing a line on it tool. Probably the tool with the longest name ever. But the way that this tool works, if I click on it, I get this crosshair right here. So if I have an image that needs to be straightened, or if I want this image to be straightened in a specific direction, I would click and drag this line right here. And when I let go, my crop tool will adjust to follow the direction of that line. If I select this tool again and I make a horizontal line like this, then my crop will be adjusted horizontally. Let me clear this. Another thing that I can do with my crop tool is I can rotate my image by hand, as you guys saw before. Right? Then what I can do next is add an overlay to my crop. And we have some presets already created for us. By default, we have the rule of thirds. I can have a grid. I can have the diagonal, a triangle, and the golden mean ratio. We can also have the golden mean spiral. We can always have the overlay selected, never show the overlay, or the auto show overlay. To the right of the overlays, we have our settings for the shield. And the shield is this area right here, this dark area right here. We can change this, for example, to darken it or to lighten it, depending on what we want. I like the default that we have. To the right of the settings, we have the delete crop pixels. If I crop this area, for example, let me change my overlay to rule of thirds, and I commit to my cropping, notice that we've cropped the entire image. Whereas if we deselect our delete crop pixels and we crop half of our image and I hit commit, notice that we have cropped this image right here, but we have not destroyed the pixels. Alright, let me undo this. Let's move on. To the far right, we're going to have the undo, the cancel, and the commit buttons. So for example, if I do something like this, and I want to go back to where I started, I would reset. If I want to get out of my cropping, then I can do undo. And if I want to commit to a cropping, I just click on the check mark. Alright, the next tool that we're going to talk about, it's called the Perspective Crop tool. I'm going to use this image here by Matthew Nicholson. And as you can see, the shortcut for the crop tool is the letter C. And to go to the other crop tools, I would use Shift C. So I'm going to go to the Perspective Crop tool. And the way that this tool works is very simple. Just like the Transform tool, we make a selection and then we get this grid right here. I can then move the individual anchor points to match the angle of the side of my box. I'm going to go to the bottom. I'm using the spacebar or the hand tool to move my document. And once I have this Perspective Crop tool moved to match the side of my box, which is in perspective, notice that the Perspective Crop tool took the side of my image, flattened it, and fixed the perspective. And again, these are the crop tool and the crop perspective tool.